Welcome to the Wealthy Retailer Podcast. My name is Dan Holman, and my guest this morning is Michael Nascimento. Actually, when we came in and started this morning, producer Rob and cameraman Trev thought that we had two guys because I said Michael Nascimento with Management One and Mike Nash from the Prairie States. Welcome, Michael. Appreciate you coming in today.
This is awesome.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
That's a tough question. I'm a musician, and I also work in data analysis for independent retailers. And I've been playing in bands since mid-high school and just didn't know when to quit.
Nice.
I tried to quit. Tried to quit. Took a bunch of time off, and then I had to get back into it. It's the only way. So, the data analysis side, I ended up taking a program through SAIT down in Calgary. It was an IT, like a networking systems program. Finished that, and then got into the workforce and started doing all that, and then found a new stream in data analysis, and it's been amazing.
Cool. So what was your first job? Think way back. I know you're not terribly old, but think back. What was your first paying job?
Well, barely paid. It was like there was a paper route that was opening up in my community, and it was one of those free, like a community newspaper. Yeah. And it paid. I think it was like half a cent. I'm fairly certain.
Half a cent per paper.
Half a cent per paper. I think the only reason my dad let me take on the job is just because it was a first job.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't matter what you're getting paid. Get out of the house, go do something. You'll get some exercise. And it was a terrible job, but yeah. But like outside of that, like the actual, I always feel like a job is something where you're being social, you're being around people. So the first real thing was working at New York Fries. I was a fry master.
A fry master.
Fry master at New York Fries. And that, I got into all sorts of shenanigans and stuff on that job. But that's also part of a job.
Fry master.
A fry master, yeah. When you're at a job, you actually get to, have fun and get into shenanigans and stuff. And so that was, I know the 3 stages of how to make a great fry. It's a 3-stage fry system.
All right, so this isn't about wealthy retail anymore. Now this is going to be about making the best fries.
Yeah, so you have to soak the potato. After you cut the potato, you got to soak it for, I can't remember exactly, but it's 2 or 3 hours. You got to soak the potato, get the starch out of the potato. Once that's done, you got to drain the fry, let it dry off a bit. You pop it in your first stage of frying, which I believe is around 200 degrees. And then you have to let that sit for a bit. Then it's like 300 and some degrees is your second stage, and then the last stage is just a flash fry right around 450. I don't know if those numbers are accurate at all. But that's how you get the great fry.
Well, that's it. The Wealthy Retailer and how to make the best French fries.
You're welcome.
Nice. All right, so give us a little bit of insight into how you ended up in this retail world. And describe kind of what your role is today in retail.
Yeah, so I was working for Canadian Retail Solutions, who was also contracting me out to an oil and gas company to do IT work. How that intersects, I have no idea. So I was doing IT work for an oil and gas company, and that's when the gas prices kind of fell through the floor. CRS was able to kind of pivot me into the retail side. And I think there's, in the IT networking side, you're troubleshooting. And I was taking care of purchasing for their tech as well. But a lot of that analytical stuff of trying to figure out where the problem is and attacking that problem works well also in the data analysis for these independent retailers. Moved over into that world and quickly began working a part of my brain that hadn't been exercised in a while, and that's kind of how I moved into the retail side, and then never looked back.
So now today, as a data expert in retail, give us a little, I'm going to say layman's, but I really mean real people understand what really you do in data, in that data world.
Well, essentially, I'm looking for specific data points. I'm looking for specific key data points. Like, what are your sales? You know, how much markdowns did you take on those sales? You're receiving at cost and also at retail. So I'm looking for these specific data points, pulling them out of your system, organizing them into a format that is easily understandable by Management One, mm-hmm. Who I do work for, and hand that over to them. And then we also look at, on that side, we take that data and, you know, build reports, you know, build massive reports that can give a forecast for a retailer for the next 12 months. So what was the question again?
Yeah. So we'll talk for a second a little bit about Management One. Oh, yeah. We'll give them a little plug. Management One is really the foremost authority in merchandise intelligence, probably on the planet. They use big data to tell really great stories about what's happening in retail without really being on that retail floor. We're tracking the way that the customers vote and trying to build a forecast that delivers, you know, the one thing that seems to elude every retailer, and that's cash flow. And so, you know, my question really was, give us some insight into that world that, you know, where you live in that Management One world today. And I think you did a great job describing it. So if I was to say to you, you know, are you in retail? Do you believe you're in retail?
I believe I'm for retail.
For retail.
I don't think I'm necessarily in it because I'm not on the sales floor. I'm not buying. I'm not, you know, I'm not refacing. You know, I'm not doing anything that a retailer has to do.
Right.
But I am definitely for it because I have to help these retailers better understand where their opportunities are, and also to show them where the dogs are.
Right.
You know, and then just try and help guide that process on where they should be investing their time.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not in it. I don't believe, but
I love that. I'm for retail.
I'm for it.
I kind of connect.
You can steal it.
Yeah.
It's yours.
Yeah. It's yours.
Yeah.
So is it fair for me to call you a retail planner?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, you know what, as a retail planner and looking at those data points that you look at frequently on an ongoing basis.
Oh, yes.
Never ending.
Never ending.
You know, are you seeing areas that retailers need to better focus on to improve their business?
It always seems like it comes down to inventory. Either they have too much old inventory that there's just, maybe I shouldn't say there's no way to move, because there's always a way to move inventory, right. But they're sitting on, you know, far too much inventory in a department that is just not servicing them.
Right.
Or they're under buying in an area that can totally drive their business.
Right.
And whether that under buying is coming from a place of lack of cash.
Sure.
Or if it's coming from just a place of insecurity where they just don't want to take that plunge. They don't want to jump in, you know,
yep.
head first,
yep.
and go for it. Those are that's, you got to take it when it's in front of you, because it's not going to last forever.
Yeah, I think when I look across our retail sort of, you know, client base, I can easily identify 50% of our retailers are absolute chronic overbuyers, you know, motivated by the excitement at a trade show, inspired, and they buy way too heavy, too much of the same thing, way too heavy. And then you've got the other 50% who, you know, I used to tease one of our clients. She'll know exactly who she is when I say, you know, she's got this DRTB disease. And she said to me one time, Dan, are you calling me a dirtbag? And I said, no, DRTB is this acronym. You know, you've got a demonstrated reluctance to buy. Yeah. And that demonstrated reluctance to buy is really what was holding her business back. And when we sort of got her to release and buy in, you know, to some of the plans and the data that you're seeing,
right.
you know, her business went up 30%. But so it is really that half the group or half the field out there, retailers out there, are completely overbuying and running out of cash. And then the other half are completely underbuying and have no cash. So there has to be this comfortable balance.
Yes. And I mean, it's kind of comfortable balance. It's kind of like in the band, there's two of us who are kind of like doing all the paperwork and kind of driving that really boring side of the music business.
Yeah.
But and Jeff is a get it done, go now, like, you know, and I'm wait, let's just think about this for far too long. But in there's that balance of, well, at the end of the day, we still get to that point. And not all independent retailers will have that, you know, partnership necessarily.
Right.
They might be doing it all solo.
Yes.
So, you know, if they are one of those people who is like, hop in, get it all, you know, they're buying too much, or if they are overthinking things and missing the boat, it's, you kind of have to identify which one of those you are, and address it, deal with it, and then start to open up to the possibility of the benefit of the other side of the coin.
Totally agree. I think that retailers really need to find, you know, that, I said comfortable balance, but it is that line where they're taking risk, but also mitigating risk.
Right.
And that comes from their ability to really break their business down into small chunks, to know where to be super aggressive and to take a bunch of risk and where not to take a risk, you know, where to play offense and where to play defense.
Yeah.
So if you could give 3 tips, just start with one. If you could give one tip to a brand new retailer, what would it be?
I think it would be just be confident. I think, and this is only anecdotally that I've heard this, but I've heard this time and time again that that retailers feel pressure from a vendor into kind of taking on more than they should, you know, within a season, or taking goods too early in a season, and then you're committed to the payment on that before you've even sold. You don't have any cash coming in to, you know, pay that vendor. So I think the big thing is being confident and realizing that they need you to sell.
The vendor needs you.
The vendor needs you. You are essentially, I mean, you're their customer. And what would you do for your customer? You know, as a great retailer, you're going to work with your customer to make sure that they can buy your goods.
Right.
So,
but don't we want customers to overbuy from us as retailers?
Okay, I take that back.
Well, isn't that what we're trying to do?
Truth.
We're trying to get them to buy more.
But if you overextend your customer, how often are they going to come back? If they're feeling the pressure.
Good.
If they're feeling the pressure, then what makes them want to come back?
What makes them come back?
So, and if they can't come back, if they've spent everything they have and now they're in trouble for spending everything that they have had, they're probably going to look at you, look at that storefront and be like, there's going to be a pain point there. They're not going to know why, but they're just going to keep driving.
All right.
So, just being confident in knowing that you need to buy what you need and buy it on terms that work for you.
Okay.
I think, but it comes down to confidence. I think that's a big thing. So,
so buy with confidence.
Buy with confidence.
Buy with confidence. Okay. Maybe I'm paraphrasing, but buy with confidence.
Sure. Yeah. No. I like that.
All right. Fair. Okay. So give me something that you think new retailers just absolutely miss the boat on. What do they fail on coming out of the gate? I mean, so I should have asked, how many new retail businesses do you see?
Well, and that's, I actually don't see that many on my side. Usually it's businesses that have been around for a while and are looking for that edge to get further ahead.
Yes. Or
they're just looking at a shovel to dig them out of a hole. So, you know, we're looking at actually, you know, tons of data, you know, 24 months worth of data to build off of. And so, you know, most retailers we see, or at least I see, have been around for a bit. They're veterans that are just trying to get fixed.
Get to the next level.
All right. But, you know, I guess the big thing for me, as somebody who has to dig data out of systems, is, you know, new retailers need to know their point of sale.
Sure.
Because I mean, that's probably the last thing most people want to think about. When
Should we give a plug to Canadian Retail Solutions on the point of sale?
If you need a point of sale solution that works
Talk
for
into
you,
the microphone.
talk to Canadian Retail Solutions. They'll hook you up. It is. It's like every point of sale has their strong, their strong. What is it? What am I looking for? Strong, not suit. They have their.
I mean, I think that they have what they do well. They
Exactly.
do things some things really well, and other things they don't do well, for sure.
Yes, and it always seems that there's one thing that this glaring omission that just seems like what do you mean that you can't do that on your system? But it's always
you can't enter your purchase order. That
seems 6 months down the road that you figure it out. You're locked into this thing,
right?
And it's a headache to get out of it. So know your point of sale, do your research in advance, really find something that's going to work for you, and know how you can get your data out of that point of sale so that you can get it into a new one down the road if need be. Like
as you grow,
if you grow out of a point of sale and you need to move into something new, be able to be sure that you can get your information out easily.
I certainly see that working with retailers on a daily basis, that they have outgrown their point of sale system, but don't even know that they've outgrown it, that they're looking for more than it can give them. Right. And in some cases, they feel a little bit tied down, and they don't know how to make a change. But certainly understanding their system is paramount.
Well, how many
success in
how many retailers do you work with that actually don't know the capabilities of the point of sale that they have?
Not that many, maybe 99.5%.
So the
reality is we use about 15% of any system's ability or capability. Right. I mean, even think about what you're doing in data work. I mean, are retailers really using all of the knowledge that you're providing in a plan or in that data? I mean, when we look at the power, the significance of a management one, a merchandise plan, how many retailers are really looking at what's my open to buy, and not really telling a good enough story or understanding the story as to why I've created it. And, when we talk about, flip over from what you do to where the coaching sort of lives in with that plan, we have to give retailers those tools. And today, they just don't use them. They don't use them enough. And if you look at a point of sale system, the most simplistic point of sale system out there, they're still probably only using one aspect of it, the cash register.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's, I guess too, if they're new at it or they're just coming into it, there's only so much information you can digest.
They don't know what they don't know.
It's for sure. That's fair.
Okay. All right. Let's take a break from retail for a second.
Okay.
Tell us about the Prairie States.
The Prairie States are, we're a relatively new band made up of, we're just a bunch of friends that, do you want the history?
Tell me the who, what, where, and why.
The who, what, where, and why.
Isn't there 5 W's? I just gave you 4.
Let's go back to 2000. No, it was, I help out at the Big Valley Jamboree quite a bit. Every Sunday night, a karaoke winner from the weekend, they do this karaoke contest. The karaoke winner comes up on the Coors stage and does a couple songs. And this kid, he was a kid at the time, I think. I shouldn't say the kid. He gets bugged when we call him the kid. Right. This outstanding gentleman wearing flip-flops.
This young, fine gentleman.
Yeah, wearing flip-flops and jeans and a cowboy hat made of straw. Came up and sang he sang a Keith Urban song, and I can't remember what the other one was, but just nailed it. And looked like he was half asleep doing it, like just effortlessly just wailing. And was blown away, and then that was it. Yeah. Usually, it happens every year. You're like, oh, this is great. But he blew me away, and then I thought that would be it. Fast forward a couple years, Jeff is out with our friend Jay on a radio tour promoting Jay's country record, and a DJ or somebody at a radio station was managing Matt at the time, and he was looking.
So Matt's the fine young gentleman.
Fine young gentleman in the flip flops, jeans, and the
and Jeff. There's more than one Jeff in the band, isn't there?
There's a J.
Oh, it's a J.
Yeah, there's a couple J names,
Jays.
but yes,
yeah,
Jeff and J.
J.
Matt needed a guitar player and so somebody to write songs with, and Jeff hopped on board right away, and then they started the band. They were playing quite a bit, get things rolling, and they needed a bass player, and that's how I came into it. But it was just funny how it all came full circle. And now we got a generous grant from the Edmonton Arts Council to record our first album, and we just 5 guys hop in the studio, just buddies making songs, and Jay produced it, and our friend Brad mixed and engineered it, and it was just it was awesome. What came out of the studio was amazing. Everybody was super excited, and then from there it's just been upward trajectory.
Nice.
And it's been great ever since. And again, we got to give a massive shout out to the Edmonton Arts Council. They support a lot of great projects, and we were so thankful that they decided to support us, because without that, we would we've never have had a shot at where we are now. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And so you've got an album released.
Yeah.
All original songs.
All original songs. Yeah. Yeah. We play a couple covers. We try and keep it about us. That's,
okay.
We're confident in our writing. We're confident in what we're doing. So let's showcase our tunes. So yeah, it's all original.
Is there inspiration? Is there a band or a group out there that inspires you guys? That's kind of leading maybe a little bit of your direction today?
Inspire who we steal from? Yeah. I mean, there's so many different tastes, people, musical tastes in the band. So it all seeps in. I like rock and roll. That's where I come from. I like it all, but rock and roll is kind of where I'm from. Matt listens to a lot of old school R&B, soul music. Jeff and Doc are really into the country, and Jay's into rock. Jay's into everything.
Right.
But it all seeps in, and we just always find that it ends up sounding kind of like Eric Church, with Chris Stapleton, and the Brothers Osborne. All those guys are kind of doing southern country rock mixed in with some Stones, mixed in with it's not the pop flavored country that's out there. So
fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you see some similarities between entertainment and retail? Yeah,
they're both extremely difficult industries to be in, especially as an independent. I think that's where they connect. Is the independent side. As an independent artist, we don't have a support system in place that will automatically book us shows.
Sure.
Set up our merch purchasing and design. You name it. We don't have that in place. We don't have that team. So we have to build that team on our own.
Right.
And same with an independent retailer. You don't have that in place. You have to build your own team with people that are qualified and that you trust to help you succeed. So, we found that as we move forward and we grow as a band, we fill a seat that needs to be filled. Jeff radio tracked, and radio track is basically like sales calls for your single to radio. You're calling up radio stations, you're sending emails, you're like, hey, have you listened to our new tune? Can you add it? You're just trying to get your single into a music meeting. And then after that first run, okay, we need to fill that position. We can't keep doing that. We've got more important things to be doing. Not more important things, but other things that we're better at, I should say. So we filled that spot. And the same goes for, I think, retail, is that as you grow from, as you open, you're a smaller retailer, and as you grow, you need to fill these positions. You can't be doing it all on your own, or you're going to burn out and fizzle out. So yeah, it's, and then also I think there's similarity in I think what we find in music as inspiration. You know, you're trying to be open to inspiration and like, you know, being willing to catch that lyric idea from your conversation that you overhear. You have to be open to hearing this and open to ideas to be inspired to write and make great songs. I think a retailer's got to be open to the opportunities, which I think are the inspiration. I mean, it's the same thing in music. The inspiration is the opportunity to make a great song. For retail, the opportunity is that one area of your business that could really drive some sales for you. But you got to be open to it, or if you're just locked in your ways and you're not willing to see that you know, little glimmer over in the corner that's going to work and you know, build some sales for your business, then you're not gonna get there. That's that's a retailer's writer's block.
Yes.
You know, so.
All right. And so then you said merch. So in merchandise, what things do you apply from your retail knowledge base today to moving Prairie States merchandise?
Well, we just did it with our first seasonal item. We always find that, I mean, in bands that I was in before, we'd buy up a ton of merch.
Much like a retailer.
We buy up a ton of merch because that's what you need to have. You need to always have stuff. And then you look at it like, well, we don't have any shows booked. Why are we buying all this merch? And that's what's coming up now, is that we're like, okay, well, we know we don't have anything going into the fall and the winter. Our busy summer has kind of wrapped up. And we're going into recording. We're getting ready to record some new material. We're getting ready to push a new single. That's where our focus is. So why are we going to load up on a bunch of merch?
Right.
So we did a smaller run of t-shirts recently, and then it's getting into the fall, so we got hoodies.
Hoodies, yeah, seasonal.
And the first show, like, we made it a rush to get these hoodies in time for a show that we had at the beginning of September. And sure enough, like, we went up to Fort McMurray to play outdoors.
Yeah.
And people didn't know us. I mean, they'd heard us a little bit on the radio station up there, but they didn't really know us. And we moved a bunch of hoodies, like, and it was great. But it was smart. It was smart buying. We were buying seasonally, and then we're also trying to work our way out of inventory going into a slow period, a quiet period.
Yeah, so exactly the same as retail.
It's exactly
the same.
But then we're also looking at it like, we're going to have to take some chances going into the new year. Like, what are these new lines that we want to bring in? Like, it's just so weird right now. Like, bands are essentially there to sell, you know, try and sell some CDs and records at their merch booth, but also like cool shirts and some cool hats and stuff. And, so trying to get into something that's outside of the box a little bit. Like, what do people want? You know? We got buddies who are making like custom one-hitters. I'm like, that ain't us, but but yeah, you're just trying to find that thing that people that your logo is going to look cool on. But yeah.
Okay, so you've wrapped up a busy summer.
Yeah.
What's next?
Actually, this afternoon we're going into the studio. We start recording. We've got 2 songs that we recorded in the summer that are polished, all ready to go, and then we're doing 2 more right now. New year, we've got 2 more that we're going to record, and then it's just
So is that another album that's coming, or are they singles?
Yes, no, it's going to be a full album or a full EP in the summertime, but the actual digital releases will not happen. We're going to spread them out so that, you know, people. We put the record out a year and a half ago, and then people have just been listening to that, and they haven't had a new taste of new songs in a long time. So we're going to do this for the fans, where it's like every couple of months, it'll just be something new.
Also like retail.
There you go. And it's, we've properly prepared. Before we would always just we put something out and then, you know, just react to whatever happens. And now we tried to map it out, our year as independent DIY musicians and artists. We have to prepare our year so that we're not caught. You know, not ready to go with something. So yeah, we're preparing properly.
All right. How do we follow? How do we listen? How do we chase you guys? Tell us about how to follow the Prairie States.
So here's another thing for all you independent retailers out there. Make sure that all your socials, the handles are the same. So on Facebook, we're the Prairie States Band. On Instagram, we're the Prairie States. On Twitter, we're Prairie States. And then the website's theprairiestates.com. But yeah, you make sure you line those up because it makes it impossible for people to find you. But yeah, follow us on Spotify.
I've got you on Spotify. I hear you every day on Spotify. That's for
awesome.
Sure.
Yeah, no, and that's the biggest thing. So if you know of somebody out there who's in, you got a nephew, you got a friend who's in an up and coming band, follow them on Spotify. I know it sounds kind of like, well, I listen to them anyways. Just follow them. All that data, all that analytics that goes into these streaming numbers now, that helps an artist move forward at radio or wherever they're trying to go. That information really makes it so that they can approach booking agents and talent buyers and all sorts of people with confidently with information that'll help them get that gig and help them get paid. So
awesome. Well, that's a wrap for today. My guest again, Mike Nash from the Prairie States. Thanks, pal. I really appreciate you coming in today.
Hey, thank you.